Welcome back to another episode of the Casey Campbell Podcast. Casey Campbell with you, of course, pleased to be joined by the boys basketball coach at Houghton, the head boys basketball coach, I should say, Jared Lawson. How's it going?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me on the podcast.
Doing well. Thanks for coming on. So let's talk about how the year's kind of going so far for you guys.
Okay.
Off to a pretty good start, but yeah, just kind of talk about how the year's going.
Yeah, we went against one of the best teams in Kingsford, probably in Division Two. I would think they're a top 10 team, and we learned some things from that game. We made some adjustments quickly, and from there on out, we've been averaging around 70 points a game with 5 straight wins, and we're hoping the new year can continue in the same fashion.
So going into this year, where do you think your team is at right now, sitting at 5-1?
I know these guys are capable of this. Everyone looks at our roster and we have one senior, and we think we're a young team. But most of my starters have been on the team since freshmen. So this is a team that's been together for a couple of years. They know each other well. And last night we had a game, and the passing is some of the best I've seen in my 12 years coaching here. Just moving the ball real quick, doing a great job against the zone we saw, and finding the open guy. Not only finding the open guy, they're getting the ball to the right people to shoot the ball. So it's a good thing to see as we progress into the grit of the season here.
All right. Let's talk about some of the guys that are coming back for you and some of the guys that are returning. Just kind of talk about that for a second.
Well, Miko Salmi is our one senior. He was a first-team all-conference selection. A great outside shooter. He's a gambler on defense, but it kind of fits into our style this year. We're going to try to take some chances on defense, press teams, and try to get out and run a little bit. Nothing like Grinnell style, but we do want to get up and down the floor. I think it suits Miko and a couple of other shooters really good. So Miko's been a key part on the offense. Defensively, Kyle Primo is a junior point guard, but he's been a starting point guard since the freshman year. And he's a pit bull on defense. He's only about 5'7", but I have no hesitation putting him on any player, regardless of height, just because of his defensive tenacity. But those two guys are leading the charge on both the offense and defensive end.
Okay. So, and then just talk about, the conference that you guys are in. Where do you think the league's at this year?
It is kind of balanced. I think Iron Mountain is probably the favorite just because of their returning players. They got a really good player in Oscar Kangas. But I don't think, they're not unbeatable. A couple of years ago, Foster Wonders, they were a heck of a team. But, this year, they're still sophomores on the Iron Mountain team, but I would certainly say they're the favorites. And I think we're right there in the mix with a Nagani and a Westwood, teams that can kind of pull ahead. But at the same time, if you're not on that certain night, you're going to find yourself losing to anyone in this conference.
Yeah. Just kind of talk about what's it like playing basketball up in the Upper Peninsula for many people that might be watching and saying, "Oh, what's it like up there?"
Yeah, and I would even say that where I'm coaching at, it's even more unique because I coach at Houghton, which is predominantly a hockey school. So even though we come in as a Division II, 12 years of coaching, I've not had make one cut, and usually I'm picking between 20 kids total between 9th and 12th grade. And so player-wise, we're more like a class Division IV or Class D school. And so coaching up here, you're competing against hockey since those kids are in kindergarten. So getting athletes is a big difficulty for us. So when we go against these basketball schools, Nagani, Kingsford, Escanaba, their athletes are amazing. And we're trying to compete with them and trying to figure out ways to make it a balanced playing field, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah. So just kind of talk about, this roster and what you have. A lot of young guys, but a lot of players that can do a lot of things for you.
Yeah, absolutely. We also start 2 sophomores, Isaiah Lawson and then Luke Hill. But again, they were up as freshmen last year, saw significant time. And you could see having that one extra year under the belt. They don't play as sophomores. I would certainly say, they play more like juniors. They're used to the environment and the atmospheres that we go into. And then we start Bryce Pugh at center, again, on the team since his freshman year. So as a junior, he's been around. He knows what to do. And the system that we've had in place now has been 3 years going with these guys. You can start to see all the little things that they had to kind of clean up over the years are starting to get cleaned up. And we're starting to, click on all cylinders. But certainly, we got to be ready for our what I like to call the big basketball schools, and that starts tomorrow with Nagani.
Yeah. Let's talk about, and then of course you mentioned Nagani and the next few games down the road. Just kind of preview them for a sec.
Well, we got Nagani tomorrow in Nagani, so it's going to be another long road trip for us. But going into that environment, it's one of the best basketball gyms to play in the Upper Peninsula. So my guys are actually excited to go down there and play and get into that arena. So we're hoping to have a good showing against them. It's always a challenge to go down there and try to win a game. But then we come into some conference games in a couple of weeks. West Iron, Calumet. And so we're going to have to be ready for those games as we want to try to add a year to our title board up in the gym. It's always a good goal for the guys. You want to add a year and put up there in a conference title.
All right. And then just what do you want to see out of this team these next few weeks?
Well, I'm hoping we continue to click on offense. We've been talking about the key word is transcendence. And what we mean with that word is finding the right guys that do the right things on offense. In basketball is a sport where, football, if I say you're the quarterback, you're the quarterback. No one can run over and steal the ball and become quarterback. But in basketball, you got 5 guys on the floor whipping the ball around. Anyone wants to shoot the ball. But in high school basketball, you got shooters, you got drivers, you got guys who set screens. And I think the quicker we can adapt to our roles, we're going to become a much stronger team.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on and talking with us. Best of luck in these next few weeks.
Well, I appreciate it, Casey. Taking a time out and having me on the podcast and talking about Upper Peninsula basketball.